Before we start today's memorial video, I just wanted to mention that I am sponsored by Poggers Energy Drinks. Ooh, Poggers. So yeah, use code Mattsuki at checkout. Link in description. First link there. Help support your boy. And by the way, this is the first time I've ever done a review style video, so please let me know in the comments how well I did. Feel free to skip any part you want, because the first part is a little bit long, I gotta say. So just look at the timestamps, skip ahead, enjoy the video. That's about it. Chaos Control!
Today is a sad day. Hello Xdefiant fans, I am unfortunately here today to announce that Xdefiant will be shutting down. Starting today, December 3rd of 2024, new downloads and player registrations will no longer be available. We will still release our Season 3 content in the near future, and the servers will remain active until June 3rd of 2025, roughly 6 more months. A few years ago, Ubisoft and the SF dev team embarked on a bold adventure to develop a new arcade shooter called Xdefiant. It was from the start an incredible challenge. Not only were we trying to shake up the genre by removing skill-based matchmaking while bringing back a more old-school arcade shooter experience, but we were also diving into the high-risk, high-reward realm of free-to-play. And for that, I want to applaud not only the dev team but also Ubisoft leadership for taking that chance. Free-to-play in particular is a long journey. Many free-to-play games take a long time to find their footing and become profitable. It's a long journey that Ubisoft and the teams working on the game had prepared to make until very recently, but unfortunately, the journey became too much to sensibly continue. I am, of course, heartbroken to have been writing this post. Yes, this game has been a personal passion for me for years, and yes, I know that not all challenges lead to victory, but I also want to recognize all of the developers who have been affected by this closure. Each and every one of them is a real person with a real life separate from our own, and they have all put so much of their own passion into making this game. I hope that they can be proud of what they did achieve. I know that I will always be proud and grateful to have worked with such a great team, a team that really punched above its weight class. And what they achieved is truly remarkable. The early response from players when Xdefiant launched was amazing. We broke internal records for the fastest game to surpass 5 million users, and in the end, we had over 15 million players play our game. That is something to be extremely proud of, especially considering how tough the genre is. So, thank you to all the developers who put their passion into making this game. If there's one thing that I hope we can all take away from this experience, it's the importance of open, honest communication between the developers and players. This player-first mentality, along with the respectful, non-toxic conversations between the developers and the players, has been one of the standout differences that make Xdefiant so special. From my very first post about Xdefiant, this was the vision I wanted to champion, and I hope it leaves a positive mark on how the game industry treats its players and communities. To our players, thank you. From the bottom of our hearts, I want to express my deepest gratitude for the incredible community that has grown around Xdefiant. Your passion, creativity, and dedication have inspired us every step of the way. With the utmost love and respect, Mark. Well, there you have it. This is quite unfortunate news. I was really looking forward to playing this game throughout the year, but I thought I'd make today's video because I wanted to address what Xdefiant did right. Because I really did enjoy this game. There's a lot of things that I think it does better than Call of Duty. Heck, I think Xdefiant's multiplayer makes Black Ops 6's fall short. But that's not to say Xdefiant is without flaws. It has a few that I will mention later on in the video, but let's start with all the positives. And then we'll get into what I think this game did wrong from the very start, from the get-go, and also the reason why I think this game died in the first place. That is, spoilers, FOMO. This game lacked a lot of it, which is again why I find it so sad that this game is getting shut down. It was a game that I played every once in a while, and those days when I did play it, I played for long hours. So, sad schmuck out of the way, what did this game do right? Alright, so I gotta say, the number one thing that hooked my attention and reeled me in was how this game was being a more consumer-friendly version of Call of Duty with a satisfying feel to its overall gameplay and menus. The presentation was there. This game wasn't littering the shop with skins every day, and it provided me with grinds that weren't too complicated nor long to complete. Like 1 to 2 hours a day for 1 week to unlock a new operator wasn't long at all. That's just the casual gamer's lifestyle. And especially compared to other Ubisoft titles like Rainbow Six Siege, 8 hours a season isn't that bad. That's why I was able to justify Xdefiant as a casual, hop in every once in a while experience. I really miss when I used to have games like this in my life, so seeing Xdefiant get shut down now was very disheartening to hear. Games that used to be like an appetizer for me were Wildlands, Minecraft, Lethal Company, racing games, and soon to be Xdefiant too. It was gonna be my sweet 2025 casual game, but yeah, you get the picture. Now, moving on to the satisfying presentation. When you load up a game, it is very important for your audience to immediately immerse themselves in the menus leading up to the actual hopping into a lobby. Like, look at this prime example, Black Ops 6. That music is so goddamn good. What a blast. But Xdefiant, it also has that stylistic riz to it. Xdefiant reminds me a bit of OG Fortnite's menu music, so calm and peaceful, with a hint of The Last of Us guitar strings strung. And also a bit of a futuristic vibe in that music too, right? And not only music, but the clicks and the clacks of the gun effects while interacting with your creative class sounds so badass. God, that's good. Sound design can really carry a game, so I'm glad here I feel like I'm a locked-in, full-time creative class mechanic. Then once you're in-game, you get these great map previews before the match starts, showcasing the environments live, complete with sound effects to further immerse you in the world. Now this game isn't immersive all the way to its core with its skins and such. But goddamn, some of these maps look so beautiful. And the layouts have all been so good too. While the movement system was also something I've missed since Infinite Warfare. They brought back slide hopping, which I just gotta say is some of the most satisfying movement in all of gaming. It feels like near perfection in Xdefiant. Next up, I want to discuss the pacing. This game feels a lot like classic COD with a refined movement system to feel a bit more like you're skating through the map, but not like too much, you're not on ice, but you do feel a bit floaty per se. But pacing wise, I think this game nails it on the head for what I am looking for out of a fast-paced respawn arena shooter. It isn't so slow that you aren't finding people, and it's not so fast that it's anywhere even close to brain rot shipment garbage. The pacing was healthy for each map. The map sizes were mostly medium and just stretched here and there a little bit. Some are longer and skinnier than others, and the layouts are all unique and mostly fun. I loved the mall map. Its name was Emporium. It wasn't a boring design where both teams have essentially the same layout no matter the side that they're holding. No. One side of this map was at the bottom of the escalators with more open sightlines, while the other was outdoors in the courtyard with tons of cover. I'm also pretty pleased with the Christmas theme in the mall. Merry Christmas, y'all. But I'm so bummed that people won't be able to download this game for Christmas and, you know, play on this map with a fitting theme. But yeah, I hope this Christmas footage in the background does it for you. I hope you guys can appreciate it. The athlete course map, whatever you want to call it, was called Arena. And yeah, Arena was probably the smallest map in the game, but it's fantastic too. You had areas below the bleachers to spawn in. Meanwhile, the map is sort of like a circular shape, which is funny to me because it's like I'm almost running in the same circles that the athletes would have to run in if this wasn't a 6v6 shooter respawn map. The center was also this like risen platform, but it doesn't have too much cover. It's an interesting dynamic, I gotta say. Then there's the snowy map Dumbo, which I gotta say is so good. Probably my favorite. It's so pretty. I mean, you guys know how much I love snow, and the fantastic layout packed with the power positions and the height variations around this map make it rise above and beyond the rest. I may even just build this map in Minecraft or Fortnite to remember it, but I loved the apartments, the center was always fun to fight for, and the outside lanes were designed really well too, especially with all the scaffolding on this one side. You could use it as a staircase or use it as a head glitch for attacking. Really good stuff. Then there's the plain map Mayday, which was pretty cool with long sight lines and great set pieces. It wasn't my favorite map in this game, but it was alright. Next up we got Showtime, the Wild West map that was pretty good and felt like I was actually on what a Wild West style map would actually play like, with rooftop sniper battles, quick draw bar fights, and the mine shafts around the outskirts were fitting for this whole Gold Rush feel. And then there's the university one called Noodleplex, which was alright too. The center was always a very contested point of the map, and the whole theme of the map was pretty nice to look at. Echelon HQ. Now this one was probably the largest map in the game, and it was all indoors on this Splinter Cell style headquarters, and the layout included these sneaky little vents around the map. One of them lets you overlook the center room, which was always contested in domination. I thought the layout was really good on this map. There's a lot of offices in the center, and then the side lanes, they got like longer sight lines. Meanwhile, the spawn areas, they're pretty open rooms. Then we got Pueblito, hopefully I'm pronouncing that right. This was another map that I found really good in this game, probably A tier. It's got a sort of Uncharted vibe to it, but it's probably Far Cry. I just haven't played Far Cry games that much, so yeah, you know. Anyway, this map was sort of a classic 3 to 4 lane style map. I found the center ruins area was always super fun to push into and fight around. The outskirts were a bit more longer on the sight lines and more open, but also great for flanking around. It was a great map in my opinion. Now, one of my least favorite maps were called Liberty. This one was a bit too messy and not that enjoyable for me. If you look at the overhead map and compare that to, I don't know, Derelict from BO6, I think you get the picture. It's basically a bigger Derelict with a couple overhead sniper positions with just flank routes everywhere in the center. It was pretty awful for flow. Oh, but Atisha Heights, on the other hand, was fantastic. This one I remember very well in the beta, and come launch, it still felt really good to play. The layout was very unique too, where there's just this whole height variation thing going on in the center with the open sight lines exposed to you from the above floor. This map takes place on top of a skyscraper, I believe, and it looks so fancy. There's a lot of crouch height cover around this map too, and just good self-contained lanes for great flow. Definitely another A tier map of Xdefiant. And moving on into the DLC maps where I can go a little bit more in depth because they're newer. I feel like I kind of owe that to them. We got a classic Rainbow Six Siege map called Clubhouse, completely redesigned from the ground up into Xdefiant as its own unique map. Usually I complain about this sort of stuff in Call of Duty when they remaster maps, but this one, again, was built from the ground up. Like, it is a completely different map, just with the same aesthetic. Now, personally, I love this map in Rainbow Six Siege. It was really cool seeing all the different changes that they made around the map in Xdefiant, but to be completely honest, I think it doesn't have great flow. It's got way too many flank routes everywhere like a Black Ops 6 map, and Clubhouse here would have just been a bit better if they had turned it into just a regular 3-lane map. I appreciate the effort they did make changing it up, but the street in front of the place is very messy, and the warehouse that they added into the bottom right feels like extra fluff that they really didn't need to have. If designed a little bit better, they could have limited the flank routes and forced you to go actually like inside of the warehouse instead of being able to like flank around the outside of the warehouse and being able to go inside the warehouse. But yeah, even within the building itself, they've added a new staircase and they exploded the floor so that you can flank between the downstairs up into the server room or the construction area, whichever one it was. Like, neither of these needed to be here. All of my criticisms so far are Xdefiant changes that they made to Clubhouse that make the map feel more like Swiss cheese fluff. There shouldn't be this many flanks, especially between the up and down stairs on overlapping lanes. But yeah, moving on to Rockefeller. I honestly forgot this map was in 6v6 because it never shows up, but when I did play it, it was on Search and Destroy, and it played like total shit. I'm sorry, but it's true. It was basically MW2 Rust for this game, minus the taller power position in the center, or maybe a better comparison is COD Ghost's version of Shipment, with the whole outer indoor lane around the more open center. But yeah, Rockefeller was super small and dog shit for this game, unfortunately. Like, there's no flow, you're either dominating the enemy team or getting dominated yourself. There's a lot of double teaming against you if the enemies are good, so yeah. Bad map. Then I believe in season 2 we got this map called Waterfront. This one was actually really good, probably A or B tier. It's got alright visuals with a pretty good layout. Nothing too noteworthy there though, unfortunately. It kind of feels like a larger map, but it's a bit more skinnier than the other large maps in this game. But yeah, it's alright. Oh, and of course my next point will have to do with Xdefiant's strong suit. This game had a great 66 respawn experience with your usual COD game modes like TDM, Domination, Capture the Flag, and Hardpoint, but Xdefiant's unique escort mode was where this game really felt like it had its own identity. You basically have to escort this dog-like robot carrying a bomb to the enemy's main base. And not only are there abilities and gadgets mixed in from all the operators, but all the maps were uniquely designed for Escort 2. Kind of like the old Call of Duty World War II War mode, just way better gameplay wise. And the length of each map also made the experience so replayable and enjoyable. I'm again so sad to see Xdefiant shutting down. I wish they had just done something more to maybe allow the game to thrive on peer-to-peer connections or just something, man. Even bots and custom games would have been better than just letting this game go out in a snap. As for the escort maps, I didn't actually get to play Midway too much, so I don't have much of an opinion there that I'm gonna include in the video. It was a Halloween sort of carnival map from what I got. Zoo is also another one that I barely played, and I don't think I've ever seen the entire map because usually the defenders won at some point along the way. Then there's also Daytona, which is newer, but I've never actually got to play it either. From what I've heard online, players really like this map, and from what I've seen, it also just looks beautiful too. It reminds me a lot of Black Ops Cold War's Miami Strike map. They even changed the escort robot to have a hot rod engine for the whole race car aesthetic of this map. You love to see it. However, I have played and loved both Meltdown and Times Square. Meltdown, of course, was in the beta, and it's a great standard map. Again, all these maps have linear style layouts, so it's not like I can appreciate them, such as a regular 6v6 map. What makes an escort map good or not is if there's an even potential for attackers and defenders to win. You don't want a map to be too attacker-sided or too defender-sided, or else you don't get to experience the whole map. And then there's Times Square, which is my favorite. I liked how there's a lot of openness to the start. The sniper-style combat for both the opening and the final zones are really cool and make this map stand out. There's also a subway station that gives this map a very fun identity. Brings me back to the OG MW3, man. Other than that, it's a really fun map. So that's about it. Hopefully I'm not forgetting any. I believe Season 3 will also probably have some more maps too, but that won't be out for a little bit still. Which again sucks because I would have loved for my friends to have downloaded this game and played it with me for the final seasons before it dies. But oh well. My next point will have to do with the little training ground hub world. This area has a bunch of Rabbids Invasion characters goofing around for some reason, which is charming in itself, but other than that, there's some really neat little areas to explore, which include speedrun training courses and whatnot. It was again just a neat little addition that the developers had fun with, and you can see all the passion there. Oh, and how could I forget the camo system? This game only started with a few camos, bronze, silver, and gold, but slowly they added another batch of 3 after that, which to be honest, I didn't really care for as much, like how they looked, but oh, lastly, they added a true mastery camo, which I freaking love. This black and deep blue one was gonna require a lot of grinding to get, which I was so down to do, but not too long after they added it, game support was announced to be cut short, so yeah. Xdefiant had no FOMO or huge incentive to grind it out early on, so I just didn't personally do that. Even some of the community, not gonna name names, but they were preaching about how people shouldn't be grinding the game out as fast at launch to get all the camos, even though there was no grinding maps, and that this game should have been a slow burner. The same people are praising that Xdefiant's less active player base was the reason it got shut down, so I guess let the cynical narcissists be cynical narcissists until they realize that that's a bad trait to have. Thanks, guys. Not really, but I thought I'd add it in here just because you were being very hypocritical as fuck. All the way through, hoping for its downfall, and putting a little comedic bow tie on top for your enjoyment. Sorry, not sorry, but moving on. Create a class! Now this was something I was very pleased with, especially since COD had just kind of abandoned this way of life. I'm a COD player at heart, so that's why I'm comparing Xdefiant to COD, but after such a long time of not having a simplistic attachment pool, I came to really appreciate Xdefiant bringing back old systems that just worked. I like that there was no scrolling down endless menus of attachments to a point that I just can't even picture it in my head. The way that they got it here in Xdefiant allows me to visualize everything, and since the attachments have very simplistic stats, it's easy to compare. And again, the sound effects make it so much more enjoyable too. Loved it. Now that's gonna be it for the glazing today. Now let's get into why this game is shutting down and where I think this game fell flat. Just all the red flags even before launch. Okay, testing, audio. Yep, we are being heard. Nice. All right, 3, 2, 1, go. So to start off with, I hope you guys all had a good Christmas. Now, unfortunately, it's time to read off Santa's naughty list. And this whole skit totally isn't done to mask the fact that I had a cold and my voice sounds deeper than normal, but we power through it. I think the first major flesh wound of Xdefiance was its identity. A couple years ago, the
Tom Clancy's Xdefiant
name was stripped away from this game due to fan backlash. Tom Clancy is a pretty well-respected individual that crafted a lot of these gritty, militaristic worlds that were mostly adapted from his novels into Tom Clancy's video games. He unfortunately passed away in 2013, so only the fans and developers could carry on his legacy moving forward. Seeing as Tom Clancy's Xdefiant was a game that clashed a bunch of Tom Clancy past releases together with even more universes like Far Cry into one game, the fans were just not a fan of it. Xdefiant also went for more of a
it's fast-paced firefights meets punk rock mosh pit
sort of vibe with their first teaser trailer, so that also contributed to the backlash and eventual removal of the Tom Clancy title. I think this was the right move on the developer's end to remove the title, however, it shouldn't have been that way from the get-go. This was sort of the first red flag to the fans, as the devs should have known the weight that name carries. Coming off as out of touch as your first impression definitely hurt people's trust. The game just seemed like a lazy attempt to use popular IPs and to Fortniteify the game with all this cartooniness to of course attract the Fortnite crowd. Or, you know, kids. Just another franchise trying to get a piece of that Fortnite pie, when what they really need is some milk and cookies. Ho 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 ho. And frankly, after the name removal, the game still didn't have a recognizable theme. It ended up being a smorgasbord clash of universes, which could have theoretically been a neat idea. It worked out gameplay-wise in my opinion. However, the microtransactions and aesthetics shortly after this game launched got super crazy and did not fit the theme of these individual universes, further tarnishing the respected Tom Clancy factions within Xdefiant. Then there's what cut Xdefiant to its core. Something so deep that it left a game-defining scar. And that scar was the inability to separate itself from Call of Duty. A lot of fans from the Call of Duty sphere really took a liking to Xdefiant during COD Modern Warfare 2 2022's release. At the time, Modern Warfare 2 was a more classic COD experience with a short time to kill, with a drop-shotting meta being the major skill gap movement-wise. But Xdefiant was providing a more similar experience to CODs like Black Ops 4 2018, just a more balanced version of it. Now, I am someone that loved the gunplay and movement in BO4, but Xdefiant on the other hand has no overpowered streaks. The specialist weapons, aka faction abilities, felt pretty balanced and new. Plus, the healing was also auto health regeneration, not strictly manual healing like in BO4. Xdefiant was just more of a fair skill-based game with sprinkles of fun and helpful abilities mixed on top. But back to the reason Xdefiant couldn't separate itself from COD. I think that while separating itself wasn't a big issue for me personally, it was an issue for Xdefiant's overall player base because online, on Twitter, mostly COD players were interested in Xdefiant. And when your own franchise isn't being supported by Tom Clancy fans, but rather by COD fans, well then you and Call of Duty are going to be battling for COD players' playtime. And while Xdefiant tried to win that battle with dev-to-player transparency and proper community feedback, they didn't offer anything of equal value or better loot to grind for and earn. They didn't offer a better experience when it came to FOMO. And something you guys need to know is that Call of Duty thrives on FOMO and cosmetics nowadays. The fear of missing out on cosmetics keeps players, including myself, when I primarily played Call of Duty, coming back to the franchise for free shop bundles, new skins, community rewards, limited time events, and of course, limited time modes as well. And that's also including grinds, like Dark Matter and Master Prestige 1000. Like you the player want to earn these rewards fast so that you can use them all year long instead of acquiring them and shortly moving on to the next COD soon after. I also mentioned earlier in this video that it was a good thing that Xdefiant lacked a lot of FOMO. But ironically, I think the lack of FOMO is really what killed Xdefiant's battle here. FOMO usually sucks in games, but in this case, Xdefiant had zero pressure for people to keep playing it. Other than Battle Pass rewards, but in my opinion the Battle Pass looks super lackluster, so I never bought it and therefore I never had a reason to play Xdefiant immediately. And because so many COD players were who Xdefiant indirectly targeted, once Black Ops 6 dropped a month or two later, these players all went back to the new premium Call of Duty release. Plus BO6 provided all its FOMO tactics while Xdefiant was seemingly stuck in limbo. Don't get me wrong, Xdefiant is still a pretty good game, but COD was giving classic COD players the nostalgic return of a grindy prestige mode, a new good quality PvE zombies experience, a multiplayer and zombies jam-packed with camos to grind for including Dark Matter, events, calling card masteries, and more. Xdefiant being a pretty safely made game, nothing really too new to learn and master, no super long grinds, kind of held it back while Black Ops 6 got people interested in experiencing the new Omni movement and the good old nostalgic prestiging. Even like camo-wise, Xdefiant only required you to gain XP to unlock camos, while in BO6 you have to do a bit more interesting challenges that require players to engage more in how they enter combat. More engaging challenges like acquiring headshots not only tells me I have an objective to complete, but it also actively makes me a better player at the game since headshots are what give me the slight edge to win in combat. It feels rewarding. Then also on a video game title direction level. Other games like Titanfall want you to use the Titan mechs. Rainbow Six Siege wants you to use Rainbow Six operators to strategically siege buildings. Battlefield wants you to have fun on their large open sandbox, guess what it is, battlefields. But what is Xdefiant trying to do here? What are we exactly defying? Was it the genre of Tom Clancy? Defying skill-based matchmaking? Well, that's not really asking the players to do anything, is it now? But imagine if this game actually had a definitive direction, something that made it unique, like bringing back many things that made old classic games, well, classics. That would be an intriguing hook to draw people in. And don't call it Xdefiant, rather call it Return to Boot Camp, or how about Tom Clancy's Golden Era, or maybe even Tom Clancy's X-Ops. I feel like X-Ops sounds pretty cool. It also implies that there's these ops that are former experienced operators that are now like, you know, ex-operators. It adds some edginess to the game, perhaps. Like, take that concept and apply it to the gameplay of Xdefiant and craft a real intriguing world around it. You don't need a campaign, look at Helldivers, and how hyped people were to play that game from its world-building intro alone. The sheer intrigue from raw democracy propaganda was comedic and allowed players to put themselves in a totally serious world that wants to eliminate space bugs for the greater good. We the players gotta fight for the cause. If you're against democracy, you must be executed. Heretics. Just look at Lethal Company.
Welcome to your first day on the job. This is your very own autopilot ship, where you will eat and sleep for the duration of your contract. Make yourself at home. To complete the onboarding process, you will want to check the instruction manual and sign into your ship's computer terminal. We trust you will be a great asset to the company. great asset to the company. Great asset to the company.
Look at Infinite Warfare's multiplayer, where they put a focus on being a bounty hunter or a mercenary to do the dirty work for your mission team bosses. And you could redeem your crates from this.
I am the quartermaster. I have a 3D printer that can make whatever you want, if what you want is a weapon with real nice perks. So go forth, enjoy the weapons, while I hang here, not out there having fun. I am the quartermaster.
Look at Black Ops 3 multiplayer. The focus on being a specialist character with all their little backstories was really cool and appreciated by the COD community. I remember Prestige is Key being a huge content creator that just loved that aspect of BO3. Heck, look at what Tom Clancy games did in the past. They're all aiming for an immersive world, whether some fall short or others succeed spectacularly. So look, the gameplay of Xdefiant was really good, that's already been established, but the lack of focused world building, art direction, and progression systems really held this game back from being a great COD competitor that could stand on its own 2 feet. COD isn't winning on the world building front, and COD isn't necessarily winning on the progression systems, player customization wise, either. Something I absolutely adored from Tom Clancy's Ghost Recon Wildlands was the perfected player customization system. A good 95% of the customization there was free to play around with and equip off the bat. If you made a game like Xdefiant or X-Ops about our X-Operators getting all dripped out in scary tactical gear, I think you could have generated much more world intrigue and investment. And then expand upon that by, again, focusing on bringing back a bunch of classic features from the golden era. It doesn't have to be from the Tom Clancy universes either. You could have pulled a streak system from Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3, the original, and put that in Xdefiant, something like that, where you got support, assault, and specialist classes. But yeah, and speaking of features, the last thing that chopped off Xdefiant's head was perhaps the long, boring grinds to unlock basic gear. Essential basic gear. Well, I personally found the grinds to unlock new operator factions to be pretty good and swift. I was also a far above average skill player, and as a result, I gained XP much faster than the average player does. One of my online buddies, Gamer Central, and I talked about this on his stream a few weeks ago, and I have to agree with him that this was probably an issue for the majority of Xdefiant's players, even though I personally wasn't affected. The Xdefiant system to unlock new, fun factions required players to gain something like 800,000 XP, and for me, I would earn new operators in roughly 1 week if I just played 1 to 2 hours a day, so it never really required much from me, but I was also getting insanely high kill counts compared to the rest of the lobbies every single match, and my KD combined with that is probably what's giving me so much XP, so much more than other people. And if other people are stuck using the base game operators for an extremely long time, the game will feel like a grindy chore to earn stuff, which makes gameplay feel unfair. Basically, there's just this ever-growing divide between the casuals and no-lifers, and so only the no-lifers are getting this exclusive play-to-win abilities through copious amounts of time. Or they're just already really good and experienced like myself. Obviously, that will feel as unfair as a pay-to-win system, especially when paying is a much faster alternative. It's just super hard for casuals to get invested. In my opinion, I think they could have fixed this system if they just allowed you to earn the new operators slightly faster, and maybe add milestone unlocks along the way. So instead of needing 800,000 XP to get a new faction, it should only require 600,000 XP, so not as much XP overall. And along the way, at 100,000 XP, I'd expect to unlock the Factions Gadget. At 300,000 XP, I'd expect to unlock the main ability, and finally at 600,000, I'd unlock the passive trait, which at that point is the whole new faction. I think it's important that the gadget is unlocked first and way earlier on, because it is unique enough to justify wanting to try that operator out, and to keep my interest in grinding for that final XP goal. This way it would also be more similar to their Camo grinding system, so that would just kind of tie nicely together, I think. All in all, I think we learned to not design a game that will immediately piss off longtime fans. You should try locking into a set theme and universe to capture your audience's attention and loyalty, and also just for like recognizability's sake, and make better progression systems. I get that Xdefiant is a free-to-play game too, so that's probably why we had pretty wild skins off the bat, but maybe it shouldn't have been a free-to-play game to begin with. Maybe you guys needed a new business model, like a $30 game such as Rainbow Six Siege. Or how about one where you tie a skin to the game's initial purchase? Have a bunch of different editions with different skins. That would be kind of a new and interesting way to buy the game. It might even get people to talk about Xdefiant more. But let me know your thoughts in the comments below. How much playtime did you have in Xdefiant? Was it a good game in your opinion? Should Ubisoft have left this game to thrive for a year first before announcing its shutdown and letting go of most of their developers? I certainly think so. Heck, I think after their recent update where they added 3 or 4 seasons worth of content into the game, they should have just released all of that for a Christmas update. Like, all these new faction operators being in the game all at once gives me a lot of variety to choose from and grind for. And I wouldn't feel like I'm grinding for one operator at a time that will just be like kind of outdated once the next season drops. One of the biggest things that got me into Rainbow Six Siege was the whole, there's 70 balanced operators to choose from, so have fun acquiring them and grinding for more. So it's just kind of sad to see that they have all this content for Xdefiant at the ready, but they planned on drip feeding it through long ass seasons instead of just dropping it. So yeah, it's disappointing. So let me know your thoughts in the comments below. I'll see you in the next one. So peace out, homies. See ya in the next one. Bye bye.